All right, so Hornady has came out with a new caliber that may very well be the best caliber out there, and I don't think that's an overstatement. And it is the 7 millimeter PRC. So they have been famous, for lack of a better way of putting it, for bringing out the 300 PRC, the 6.5 PRC, and the whole point of these calibers is to improve the ballistics basically of the existing comparable calibers, right? I mean, 300 PRC, the comparable caliber would be 300 Win Mag, 7 millimeter PRC would be 7 millimeter Magnum, 6.5 PRC, 6.5 Creedmoor. And all of these have been improvements over the existing one. And I think the debate here is going to come down to the 7 millimeter PRC versus the 300 PRC. Comparing it to the 6.5, in my opinion, is not quite as relevant. Um, so if we get right into it here, um, which one is better, right? Now, I ran the ballistics myself. Now, again, if you're reloading, obviously these are going to be a little bit different, and you're probably going to be able to manipulate this to a little bit of a degree as well. But if you look at these 180 grain ELD matches, the ballistic coefficient is 796, right? For the 225 grain ELD match on the 300 PRC, the ballistic coefficient is 777. So it is a little bit higher for the 7 millimeter PRC. The other two very important points as well that I looked up is the difference in how flat shooting they are, because at the end of the day, that's probably what is most important here. At 1,000 yards, a 7 millimeter PRC has 6.3 milliradians of elevation. At 1,000 yards, the 300 PRC is going to be about 7. So that's actually a decent amount, right? 0.7 of an milliradian. That's I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but that is definitely significant, right? That's fairly significant. I mean, if you look at the difference between a 6.5 PRC and a 6.5 Creedmoor, or a 300 PRC and a 6.5 Creedmoor, that's probably a comparable amount. And the 6.5 PRC, I believe, is slightly flatter shooting than the 300 PRC. I believe the 300 PRC is actually slightly over 7 MRADs. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I know the 6.5 is almost exactly 7. Um, I don't know what the 6.5 Creedmoor is off the top of my head. But so that is the first thing that needs to be brought up is the 7 millimeter PRC is flatter shooting. But the other important thing too when it comes to these comparison videos that I don't think a lot of enough guys talk about is that this is assuming that you're literally using the best quality ammunition that exists. A lot of guys use subpar match ammo, or they don't even use match ammo, and they think that it's going to be better, right? And if I give you an example, if I take, let's say, subpar 6.5 Creedmoor match ammo, and I take the best 308 match ammo, the best 308 match ammo probably will outperform it. So that's another important thing that you need to understand when I'm bringing up these comparisons and when people are talking about these comparisons is that are you going to be using the best ammo? Now, if you're hand loading, okay, that you're going to be able to improve on. If you're using good quality stuff, which I don't know why you wouldn't be, you're going to be able to improve on this a little bit better as well. The other important thing too is that the 7 millimeter PRC with these bullets are actually supersonic for about 100 yards further. You can get it actually a little bit past 2,000 yards. Again, in the quote unquote standard conditions, which again, no one's actually going to be in, but I'm talking, 20 degrees, normal, average pressure, average elevation, average everything, right? 300 PRC is about 1,900 yards, maybe a tiny bit further. Um, is that relevant to the average person? No. But if you are trying to literally maximize quote unquote efficiency, then yeah, it is a little bit better. And I think the more important thing here is the fact that it is the flattest shooting caliber that I have ever seen, right? Like 6.3 milliradians of elevation at 1,000 yards is crazy. I mean, like I say, the 6.5 PRC is already crazy flat shooting, and it's at 7, right? 300 PRC slightly over. Um, the only real difference is this is another thing I'm sure people are going to want to know is what is the energy difference, and it's about 400 or 500 pounds. right? A 7mm PRC at the muzzle, I believe, is about 3,400 pounds. The 300 PRC is, I believe, around 4,000, roughly, give or take. So again, you're talking about 400 or 500 pounds difference. That is pretty significant. I mean, that's the difference between a 300 Win Mag and a 308, right? But you also have to keep in mind that a gun that has, I mean, that 7mm PRC is probably about maybe a hair over what a 300 Win Mag would have at the muzzle, right? If you're taking really good quality 300 Win Mag ammo and the best quality 7 PRC ammo, it's probably about the same. I mean, you're splitting hairs if it's like 100, 200 pounds difference, right? So you're looking at about that amount. So in my opinion, if you're building a gun, honestly, I think I would prefer 7 PRC for almost any application, right? I mean, even if you're looking to hunt moose or something like that, I mean, there's not that much of a difference, right? There's not that much of a difference, right? I mean, if we take these are the ELDX bullets. These are going to be the ones you're going to use for hunting more. Let's see if they even have it here. Let's go back. I mean, they don't have the exact specs here. I mean, they do, but it's not where I'm looking. But I think I prefer the 7 PRC. Um, as far as recoil goes, I mean, they're probably about the same. I mean, the only real advantage, I guess, would be, I mean, 300 PRC, you're going to be using some 30 cal components, probably easier to come by. In fact, they for sure would be easier to come by. So um, the, both of them definitely have their advantages, right? To me, at the end of the day, it's what you value more, right? Do you value that slightly more power, probably a little bit easier to get the bullets, or do you want that flatter shooting, slightly extended, or basically the flatter shooting, right? Which one do you want, right? I would want the flatter shooting, right? But again, that's a personal decision, right? And like I say, it's not like you're comparing like this the 6.5 PRC versus the 300 PRC. Okay, there's enough of a power difference that that extra power is going to be valuable. But the 7 PRC at 1,000 yards, I believe, is about 1,400 pounds of energy. 300 PRC is about 1,800, I believe. So again, you're still looking at like a almost a 243 at point blank range at 1,000 yards. Like that's plenty of power, right? I mean, and again, like no one's really shooting animals at 1,000 yards. Maybe 500, 600, maybe 700, but um, so in my opinion, you have more than enough power to take out an elk at 500 or 600 yards. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to argue that 300 Win Mag isn't enough to take out an elk at 500 yards. Therefore, I don't know why you would argue that 7 PRC isn't. Now, again, there's some guys that have the you can never have too much power opinion when it comes to hunting, which I understand, but I mean, there's a lot of guys that take it too far. That it's like, yeah, you need a 30-06 to kill a deer. What do you mean a 308's enough, right? It's like, okay, you've gone too far, right? Um, but again, when it comes to moose hunting and like brown bear and stuff like that, you're not hardly ever taking an extended range shot, right? So if it comes to hunting, then in my opinion, you're really splitting hairs. But again, some guy the 300 PRC has been around for longer, so some guys are going to prefer the familiarity, right? Um, so again, I just wanted to bring this up because I think this is very interesting. I hope they do this with 22 caliber, to be honest, because if you could get a 22 caliber that could launch like 75, 80 grain, maybe 85 grain bullets at like 2,900, 3,000 feet a second, that would be amazing. Like that would be amazing. I would buy one of those, but I think that they're doing a really good thing by doing this because it's just advancing things so much, right? So much. Even in the last 10 years, things have gone so far. It's like so far. So that's good to see. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because I think this is something that is going to get more popular over time. So anyway, hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for